Welcome to Unit 3.6, Sequences of Transformations. So a sequence is in a row, right? So a sequence of transformations is multiple transformations. Or in this case, two or more transformations combined, right? So you go step 1, step 2, step 3. You're going to end up with at least 3 images on the graph because you're going to have a pre-image, your first copy, and your second copy. A sequence, right? So for example, something like this was created by one triangle, and then they dilated it smaller and rotated it, dilated it, rotated, dilate, rotate, dilate, rotate, dilate, rotate. So it's still one image. It's just been through a sequence of transformations, right? So it's really important when you're doing transformations in general, but also sequences of transformations, to go step by step, because if you screw up the first transformation, then you can't get the second transformation right, period. Go back and double check and make sure you did the first step correctly, right? And 2, make sure you label everything. Label your pre-image, your first prime, your second prime, your third prime. Make sure you label everything, right? Otherwise, how do I know which one was your pre-image, which one was your original copy, which one was your first copy and your second copy? I don't know any of this unless you label it, right? And lastly, and not, okay, wait, quick. For example, if I gave you this set of shapes without labels, how would you know where I started? And how would you know what I did to get from one to the next? But because I did label them, you can actually see that this was our pre-image. I reflected it over the y-axis. I rotated it 180 degrees, and then I dilated it by a scale factor of 2. You can actually see that because they're labeled. But if they weren't labeled, that would change everything. And make sure you don't determine coordinates until you discover the requested prime image. So if the paper, the assignment, the project requests A prime, B prime, C prime, you still have to go through all the transformations, but you only have to give the coordinates for the first transformation. But if it requests A prime prime, B prime prime, C prime prime, again, you still have to go through all the transformations, but you only have to give the coordinates for the prime it actually asks for. So take a second and check and see which one it wants you to look for. Determine which one it wants you to find the coordinates for. This one wants you to find the coordinates for prime prime. Make sure you actually find the coordinates for prime prime. Alright, so we'll do one where I do all the work and talk way through it, and then I'll do one where we do it together, right? I'll give you a sheet and you can work it with me, and that way you can glue it in and it can be part of your notes. If you don't have this sheet, ask. I'll give you the sheet. Okay. So, triangle, these are my vertices. We're going to reflect over the x-axis, and then we're going to translate 9 to the right and 2 up. Yes, you have to do them in order. If you do them out of order, the shape ends up being in a very different location. All right? And this one is asking for prime and prime prime. So we're going to have all 3 on there, and we have to have prime and prime prime's coordinates. All right? So, same start as always. Label your x and y axis. Alright. Graph and label your pre-image. -3, 7. -2, 1. And -5, 2. Good enough? Alright, we're going to reflect over the x-axis. So let's go ahead and draw a line on our x-axis so we know Our brain knows this is our line of reflection. If you're reflecting over a line of reflection, go ahead and draw the line. Wherever it tells you the line of reflection is, in this case the x-axis. Draw that line so you know. Right? And remember, there are two ways you can do it. You can either count spaces, or you can remember the rule. Or you can count spaces to figure out the rule. Right? So if y is 1 above, then y prime is going to be 1 below. And the coordinates to y prime are left 2, down 1. Left 2, down 1. And the original coordinates for y are negative 2, 1. So what changed between y and y prime? The sign changed on my y value. So when you're reflecting over the x-axis, change the sign of the y value. That's the rule. You can either move them 1 point at a time, like we did with y prime, or you can figure out the rule. Right? Once you know the rule, you just change the sign of the y values. So it's going to become negative 3, negative 7, negative 5, negative 2. And then you graph it. Right? Negative 3, negative 7, x prime prime, negative 5, negative 2, z prime prime. Nope, prime. Just one prime. My apologies. Alright, and so you can visually see that I reflected it over the x-axis. So step A, complete. Remember, you have to do them in order, one at a time. Alright, step B sends translation along the rule x plus 9, y plus 2. So you can move them 1 point at a time, again. Right, we're going to go 9 right, 2 up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2. This would be y prime prime, and that would be 7, 1. Or you can add 9 to all the x values and add 2 to all the y values. So adding 9, negative 3 plus 9 is 6. Negative 2 plus 9 is 7. Negative 5 plus 9 is 4. And then you add 2 to all the y values. 7 plus 2 is 9. 1 plus 2 . Oh, I did it again. Why didn't you stop me? We're not adding it to the original values. We're adding it to our new coordinates. Right? Let's see if I screwed it up completely. You almost got me. We're adding 9 to 3, which is still 6. We're adding 9 to negative 2, which is still 7, and 4. So we didn't screw up the x's. We only screwed up the y's. Right? Because the x's didn't change. With the first shift, the first transformation, the x's didn't change. Alright, so let's double check. We're adding 2 to negative 7, which gives us negative 5. We're adding 2 to negative 1, which gives us 1. Well, that's 7, 1, that's what we had. And we're adding 2 to negative 2, which gives us 0. Something didn't seem right, so I went back and double checked. If something seems off, go back and double check. So 6, negative 5, 3, 6, 3, 5, and this is x prime prime, and then z prime prime is 4, 0. Alright, so now we took that shape that we had reflected and we moved it 9 to the right and 2 up. Right? And we have all of our coordinates because we did it by math. If you do it by counting squares, that's fine, but you have to go back and get your coordinates. All right, and remember, let's do 1, You should have a handout that goes with this. It looks like this. We're going to do it together. That way you'll have something to glue into your notes, an example. So if I say something that's helpful to you or show you something that's helpful, jot it down in your notes, put arrows, highlight, underline stuff, whatever helps you understand and use this information, right, when you're actually working the problem yourself. Same start as always, x, y. We're going to do a triangle. Our G is -1, 6, 3, 6. Our H is -1, 3. And our I is -6, 6. There's our triangle. Pretty good for not having a ruler. Don't judge me. They'll get worse. All right, we have our pre-image labeled, graphed, plotted. Everything's good to go. Now we're following in order. Remember, one at a time. Translate means we're going to move it left, right, up, and down along the vector 7, -5. So that's x plus 7, y minus 5. If it helps you to write it out to the side like that, do it. If it helps you to put x comma y underneath it, do it. Whatever it needs, whatever helps you figure out what you're supposed to do, right? So again, like before, we can move one point at a time. That's fine, right? Let's do G, and we're going to go 7 right, 5 down. And that would be G prime. And that would be 6, 1. That's tall. Right? You can do them all like that. Or you can do it mathematically. Right? -1 plus 7 is 6. -1 plus 7 equals 6, because -1 plus 7 is the same as 7 minus 1. I just switched them. If you switch them and there's a negative involved, you have to be super careful to take the negative with you. Just take it with you. All right, then we have -1 plus 7 again. So we have 6. And we have -6 plus 7, which is 1. 7 minus 6 is 1. And then we're going to subtract 5 from all the y's. 6 minus 5 is 1. 3 minus 5 is -2. Think of your number lines. And 6 minus 5 is 1. Right? So this will be our first prime, our first copy. So 6, 1 we've already got. 6, -2. And that's our H prime. And I prime is 1, 1. Same shape, same size, same direction, because all we're doing is translating, which means we're dragging it to the right and we're dragging it down. That's it. All right? Step 1 done. Reflection in the line y equals -3. If you're going to reflect over something, go ahead and draw the line of reflection. It'll help you when you're counting squares. It'll keep things in the right place and organized. All right? So if our line of reflection is y equals -3, then we go on the y-axis, we go down to -3, and then we draw a line through it. This is our line of reflection. I'm pretty proud of that line. I know. And because we're reflecting over it, we have an idea of how it should end up. So if something goes wrong, we'll be able to be like, well, we did something wrong. The easiest way to reflect over a line that isn't the x and y axis is to count. There is another way, but it's super complicated and it's easier just to count. Right? So, if h prime is 1 above, then h prime prime is 1 below. And then G is 4 above, so we're going to go 4 below for G prime prime. And I is 4 above, so we're going to go 4 below for I prime prime. But remember, if you do it by counting squares, you have to go back and get the coordinates. And coordinates always, always, always start at the origin. Alright, so to get to I prime prime, we went right 1, down 7. To get to H prime prime, we went right 6, down 4. And to get to G prime prime, we went right 6, down 7. 6, 7. Right 6, down 7. So, figure out what coordinates it's actually asking for. Follow the steps one at a time. See them as 2 separate things so that you'll remember to do them in order. And then when you're done, because there's a pre-image and then 2 steps, you should have 3 shapes. Make sure your coordinates always start at the origin, and make sure wherever your line of reflection is, you draw it. You draw it. Alright? You know where I'm at if you have questions. Once you're finished taking the notes, come up and get your practice sheet.